everyone. Happy Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday. Um, I already feel like last year and this year, I'm like, I have no idea what day it is. But let's go ahead. Let's test the comments this morning. Let's do the same question I put in the Facebook group yesterday because there was a ton of amazing responses that I want to bring up here. With yesterday's question of your childhood story, put in the comments, what did you want to be when you grew up? I told you guys for me, it was an astronaut and a dentist, which is also kind of crazy because an astronaut, I am awful at math. And I also get severe motion sickness on planes and boats and any kind of transportation. Even just like watching the baggage claim circle go around makes me sick. So probably wouldn't have been a successful astronaut. Dentist, who knows? I have trouble even flossing my own teeth, so might not have been the best dentist either. OBGYN to deliver babies, that's awesome. A scientist, astrophysics specifically, that's what you wanted to be when you were a kid. I'm impressed. A nurse, a singer, it changed all the time. The earliest I can remember wanting to be anything, it was a photographer. I wanted to be a doctor who found the cure for cancer. Oh, Lisa, that's awesome. Priest, gymnast, and dancer. That is quite the dynamic duo for sure. Wanted to be a lawyer. I definitely wanted to be a lawyer after I watched, after Legally Blonde came out. I wanted to be an actress, singer, dancer. So last year, actually the year before that, it was before the pandemic, I spoke at Justice. They had this conference for girls all over the world, and I had them come up with a business idea. And one of the cool things about when we're kids is that, you know, there's literally no limits. Like, we haven't learned any boundaries or limitations yet. So our ideas and like what we think is possible is all just true to us. And so some of the ideas that these kids had, I'm like, these are amazing ideas. One of them wanted to start an arcade that was also a animal shelter. So you could like play games and also play with dogs. I was like, that's an amazing idea. So I always think it's fun to see what we wanted to be as kids. Field zoologist, astronaut, you and me both going to the moon. I either wanted to be a doctor who delivered babies, I'm sensing a theme, or work in a store and wrap presents for people. I love that. That's amazing. A writer, coffee shop owner, teacher, cheerleader, a doctor to discover cures. So anyone who is talking about what they wanted to be when they grow up, are there any parallels to what you're doing today? Like, for example, me wanting to be an astronaut, clearly I'm not an astronaut. Imagine that when I'm like, that's a plot twist. Actually, I am. Is there any parallels to what you're doing today? Because to be an astronaut, I realized that I really just loved innovation and discovery. That is now, you know, what my job is today. So sometimes, even though maybe we don't become exactly what we thought we were going to do, some of the principles and what we do are still there. A writer or a coffee shop owner, that's actually still my dream. I would love to have a coffee shop. I think that would be awesome. Okay, so let's dive into today. Welcome, everybody. What did you guys think of Antonio yesterday? Isn't he the best? I saw a lot of you already ordered his book, Stop Living on Autopilot. It comes out today. So if you guys, it would really make his day if you found him on Instagram and sent him a sweet note for his publishing day today. I know that would make his day. I know how nervous I was when Chasing the Bright Side came out. So send Antonio some love for sure. Yeah, people loved his energy. That's awesome. Okay, so today, a few announcements before we get into today's topic. Good news, we've opened up more annual memberships. So the reason why we did the 500 people cap originally for the annual membership is it wasn't a sales tactic, I promise. We're trying to just get a certain amount of people using the credit card processor, getting on the platform, making sure everything works. So we're trying to do it in batches instead of just a free-for-all. And I just got the thumbs up from our developers at Bright Pages that everything is working A-okay, which is awesome. You guys have actually helped us get a lot of glitches and bugs out of it, which has been great. So it's a new code this time since that last code expired when we hit 500. So if you're interested in becoming an annual member, you can use the code here. And then Kathy, I think, is putting the link in the comments, U29LT, and that's the link to check out right there. So the annual subscription is usually $50 a year, but if you sign up, it'll be $29. And then we'll probably cap it again at the next couple hundred people just to make sure that everything is working correctly. And if you are also just not ready to go all in for the year for $29, I saw a lot of other people are doing this. You can do the monthly option for $4.99 a month, and you still get the same experience. So you still get access to all of the prompt pathways. So prompt pathways are going to be like the thing that makes Bright Pages different. We're the first and only journaling service to ever do this. I think I'm working on some more like verbiage around how to explain them, but really it's journaling with a purpose. So you pick the goal, you pick the category, and then we'll deliver the prompts based on that. If you want to do this challenge again, this challenge is going to be turned into a prompt pathway that you can start, pause, continue whenever you want. There's a pump up pathway if you're in a rut, which I get into sometimes. There's a vision boarding pathway if you want to still figure out what you want to do. Book writing pathway. I saw someone in here the other day posted in the group that she finally had a breakthrough on her book idea on day 5 of the book writing pathway, which is music to my ears. Other people were also asking, and I think someone asked about the code. So it is U29LT, and that is the link to sign up. Other people were asking if they're currently a monthly member now, but they want to jump on the annual offer. We didn't have a way to do that at first. Now we do. So you'll now see a button on the checkout page if you're a monthly user that says upgrade to annual. And what we'll also do is if you've already paid for, the month, whether that's like you've paid, $5, we'll prorate it into your order. So if you've already paid, that's fine. It'll be deducted from your order. So that is okay, let me see. I don't know how to go backwards and do the first week of journaling. So when you're in your Bright Pages app, and Kathy can post the login in here, under today's prompt, you're going to see a button that says View Past Prompts. And you can go in and answer any prompts that you missed. If you, here it is, app.brightpages.com. That's how you can go in and answer any past prompts. Let's see. Someone said I'm still a bit confused as to what a membership does. So at the end of this challenge, Bright Pages, you'll only be able to log in if you're a paid member. And so you get daily inspiration prompts, which are just going to be randomized prompts. But then you also have access to all the prompt pathways in there, which we'll be continuing to add to each week. Our goal is to build like a big library of different prompt pathways based on different topics or goals that you want to choose from. And the more prompt pathways that we add, will likely be increasing the price of Bright Pages. But you guys, the price will never increase since you're going to be a founding member. So $29 for the year. Let me know if you guys have any more questions about that. Okay, cool. So to today's prompt. So it's week 2, and we're going to be focused on writing your About Me page. So with your About Me page, it doesn't necessarily have to be a page if you're not someone who has a website yet or wants to do a website. It could just be a way for you to understand your story and kind of connect the dots. And 2, You know how some people ask you like, well, what's your story? This could be your answer to that question. For me, sometimes these points of reflection and understanding some of the pivotal moments in my life have helped me figure out who I am, what I want to do, and kind of just where my place is in the world. So today's prompt on Bright Pages, let's start with your comeback story. So yesterday we talked about your childhood story. Today, let's talk about your comeback story. So what was a time you were challenged and how did it shape you? So I was thinking before this about what I wanted to talk about today. And I think that the comeback story that I want to share, because Lord knows I've messed up more than one time. But one is that it's a little bit harder to talk about, and I'm still not used to talking about it, even though I've been talking about it for a few months now. But if you've read Chasing the Bright Side, you might know what I'm alluding to. But here it goes. So bear with me a little bit on this. So when I was in high school, I was a senior in high school, and one day I came downstairs it was exam day. My sister and I were heading to school to take our exams. And I came down into the kitchen, and my parents had always had this routine. You know, they always, in the morning, they're like super healthy people. They would be going to the gym. They'd be making breakfast. The news would be on in the background. And that was always like our little morning routine. And that particular morning, it was December 2008, I came downstairs, the lights weren't on, the news wasn't on. You know, my parents looked like they hadn't gone to the gym, and they honestly looked like they had just seen a ghost. And I was like, what's going on? And my mom started crying, and she left the room, and which was weird because my mom is literally, if you've ever met my mom, she's one of the most positive, open people that you've ever met. And my dad just said, look, you know, we've hit a bit of a rough patch, but, you know, it's all going to be okay. Just focus on your exams that you have for school, and we'll talk about this later. And, you know, I said, like, I just feel like I can't really focus on my exams if I don't know what's going on. And he was like, look, we've lost basically all of our money, and but it's okay. Like, we're gonna figure it out, and we're gonna be fine. And you know, it didn't really hit me over the head like something crazy happened. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, they've lost their money. I was, you know, senior in high school. I was just kind of worried about like what college I was going to go to or who I was going to go to prom with. It wasn't something that really seemed like this massive deal, even though I knew it was a bad thing. So my sister and I got in the car, and as we were about to leave, my dad comes outside again. He asks us to roll down the window, and he was like, don't turn on the news today. Don't watch the news. And I thought it was weird, but I didn't really think that much of it. And at this point, I didn't have like a smartphone or anything where we were like, could scroll on the news, and it was literally turning on the news. So I left, went to school, did my exams, came home, and the way that our garage was set up, there was kind of like this guest room beside the garage with a TV, and you couldn't really hear it from the rest of the house. So I got home from school that day, and I went in the guest room, and I turned on the TV, and that was when I saw Bernie Madoff on every single channel, you know, ABC, CBS, NBC, and was hearing words like fraud, Ponzi scheme, you know, $64 billion, victims. And it was like, I remember sitting on the edge of that bed and watching this TV and feeling like I was watching someone else watch this. Because if you don't know this, Bernie Madoff is my uncle. And he is one of the biggest financial frauds in history, stealing over 64 billion, not million, $1 billion in his Ponzi scheme. And if anyone doesn't know, I didn't either, what a Ponzi scheme is. It's basically like when you tell people on paper that they have, a certain amount of money, that they're making money in the stocks with him, when in reality that money doesn't exist. And so how he got busted, because he had been doing this, 20 years, how he got busted was, when the economy started to tank, people wanted to take their money out of the stocks, and obviously that money that they were told that they had wasn't there anymore. And I remember, again, it not really hitting me as much as you think it would in that moment. I think a part of me, just from being young, or just like not really truly understanding the magnitude about how our life was going to change. The money was one thing. Of course, I felt awful for my parents who had worked so hard and started their business from scratch, and thinking that they were going to be close to retirement and basically having to start over. But the lifestyle, of our family, and just how brave people in my family had to be, knowing that we were like associated with someone who could do something so awful. And I think that's how I tried to compartmentalize it in my head. I was like, this thing that happened to me, that happened to our family, because none of us knew anything. A lot of the tabloids and all of the stories sometimes tried to paint a different picture, especially for a lot of like the closer relatives of the Madoff family that people knew, but no one knew anything that was going on. And I tried to compartmentalize this as to something that was kind of going to be buried in my closet, that I never wanted anyone to know about. I didn't want anyone to know that I was related to him. I didn't want anyone to know that we even were impacted, by this. Because I was like, this isn't me. This is not who I am. I'm just a girl from North Carolina that is trying to maybe make something of herself one day. I'm not someone whose family has, an HBO movie about them. That's not what I'm here to do. And so that's what I did for years. Didn't tell any of my friends. Didn't tell teachers. Didn't tell. It's really funny having to do class assignments on your family when your teacher has no idea that you're actually related to them. So I didn't tell anyone, and I kept trying to separate it, from myself. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago, when I decided I wanted to write Chasing the Bright Side, that I was like, if I'm going to write a book encouraging people to write their own story, and not just write their own story, but own their full story, then I need to do the same thing, because I hadn't been doing that. But I also, I don't regret not doing that. I needed to give myself some breathing room. And so it wasn't until 11 years later, after it happened, that I started to not just put the pen to paper and write this part of my life, but own it as not an outlier, but a part of it. And I think sometimes when we think about like these setbacks in our life, or we think about mistakes, failures, or things that we want to disassociate ourselves from, it's easy to think like, well, that's over there and I'm over here. Like that was just a blip that wasn't supposed to happen to me. But all of it, the good, the bad, it's all us. We're not us at our best. We're not us at our worst. We're the sum of all of it. And I think that is so beautiful in owning who you are and a part of your story is like, you don't get to be selective and you don't get to pick and choose what parts have shaped you and what hasn't, because you're the living product of all of it. And sometimes we don't know the meaning or the message or the silver lining when we're in it. Because just because you can't see the silver lining right now doesn't mean it's not there, because some silver linings just take longer to develop. I couldn't see the silver lining until I wrote about it. That's why I feel like I'm going to get emotional right now. I'm really going to try not to. That's why I think journaling, is so powerful, because it brought me the healing that I didn't even know that I needed writing out this story. It connected the dots on paper in a way that I couldn't do in my head. And that's why I think it's so important that we write down these moments, because sometimes our minds aren't working in our favor and we can't make sense of it. But when we put it on paper, it does. And so whatever comeback story you're writing about, whether it's something smaller, that's great, or something big like a international, Ponzi scheme that you're related to, understand that it is all just a part of your story. It has all led you to who you are today. And honestly, the sting of failure hits differently when you've built a track record of bouncing back from it. So being able to survive and advance from that happening in 2008 has set the tone for how I approach failures in other ways. Whether that's through my business or whether that's through being blindsided by something else, I now know that moment in 2008 built my resilience. It laid the foundation for it. And so messing up and failing, I think, is a lot softer than the sting that it would have been had I not experienced that. And I think a lot of people ask me how I was able to persevere starting Headbands of Hope and messing up so many times. And I now know I can connect the dots back to that moment and realizing I'm bigger than anything life throws at me. One of my favorite analogies is that boiling water can soften a potato, but harden an egg. So it's not as much about the circumstance that we're in as it is about the subject, as it is about who we are and what we do next. And we can always make the comeback stronger than the setback. So, oh my gosh, was not planning to get emotional with you guys at 10 a.m. I know that there's a lot of comments in here. Thank you. This is awesome. So if you guys are willing to share anything in the comments about maybe a hint of your comeback story that you want to share, I would love to hear it. If not, keep it in your own private journal. The things that we're creating here in this challenge, you can pick and choose what you want to publicize. You can pick and choose what you want on your About Me page or what you want in your mission statement. So know that all of this, every single post that you write is yours, and you can choose to do what you want with it. I know that there's a lot of overachievers in here and type A people like me that think that there's we have the workbook and we have day 1, day 2, and this set plan. All of this is what you make it. This is your challenge. This is not mine. So whatever you want to write about, if you want to choose to make it a part of your story or put it on your About Me page, great. But all of this is for you. Thank you. Grateful for your vulnerability. Shonda said, letting go of others' actions help you heal too. That's great. Remembering your worth and owning your truth is key. Thanks for being real and raw and sharing your story. Okay. Yeah, we can do hard things. I love this. Part of the grieving process helps us let go. Journaling shows us things that we didn't know would show up. Spot on. oh my gosh, sometimes when I'm writing, I'm like, I had no idea that I felt that way. Or I make a connection or bridge something that I didn't know I could. It gives us the clarity that we really can't find in your heads. Um, awesome. These are so good. This is great. Love it. Okay. So, I'm on the last chapter of your book. Oh, thank you. Okay, someone said, does anyone else get the emails twice every morning? I think it's a glitch. Okay. If you are getting the emails twice, it's probably a glitch. So if you want to shoot us an email, we can check it out and make sure that there's not something wrong there. You can just email hey@brightpages.com. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry, Lisa. That is awful. Your words give me permission to tell my story authentically. Thank you. Okay. hey@brightpages.com. Yeah, if there's a double email, then definitely send it to Kathy. Okay. So switching gears here. Thank you guys again for your support and kindness as I shared that. So tomorrow, I'm very excited. We'll be talking with Ashton of Enneagram Ashton about the Enneagram. So if you don't know your Enneagram number, she has recommended an assessment that Kathy will post in the comments. I also sent it out via email this morning. If you don't know your Enneagram, or if you just want to take the assessment again. And so I think it'll be fun if you head into tomorrow's session knowing your Enneagram number. That way we can have some conversations about it. And just as a reminder, if you haven't already, you can text me the word challenge to 704-228-9495. During the week, I'm sending out daily texts of just some food for thought, something to think about. And I also love reading your responses to them. If you missed yesterday's live with Antonio, you can go into the announcements tab on Facebook and check it out. And just a reminder that we've opened up more annual spots, so you can use the code U29LT at the link below. And I believe Kathy posted that in the comments, and I'll let you know when we hit that cap again for membership. And you can, whenever you sign up, then you can pause and start different pathways. I suggest you finish out the 21-day pathway, since that's what the challenge pathway that we're in right now. And then at the end, you can choose any other pathways that you want to start exploring next. Okay, cool. Yep, here is the link. Here is I'm a 7. My husband's a 7. I'm a 3. Okay, perfect. So make sure you take the Enneagram assessment if you don't know your Enneagram number, and I will see you guys here tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye, everyone.